folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio, DNBC Network, with your host, Hurricane H. New day, terrific show, I would say. I mean, you'll judge at the end of this, but it's a topic that's probably dear in a way because we hear about these things, we don't know how they work. We've gone through a lot of things in the last couple of years. There's a lot of stuff going on, DNA, and I'm just going to be a little suspenseful right now. But I have with me, a special guest who actually going to guide us through a different type of technology, and it's really stem cells technology. So I have with me a stem cells technology consultant, Darlene Greene. And before anything else, I mean, not only she's doing this, I mean, which we're going to touch on a lot of stuff that affect our health and the next generation, I guess, of how health is going to be, anti-aging, reverse aging, whatever. We're going to talk about that. But she is special in a way that she is a retired Navy commander. Now that's a high rank, and you don't just become a commander that easy. So before I want to get started with all the technology stuff and the medical, the health stuff, I want to just talk about that experience because that is an interesting role. I mean, it's badass. I'm sorry, I have to say that.
Thank you, Hurricane. I really did enjoy it. I did 20 years. I basically went to University of Virginia on a Navy ROTC scholarship. So my first day graduating, I was already a little ensign. And the leadership opportunity that you get in the military is unparalleled. So 4 years out of college, I was in charge of 55 people, ages 18 to 65. I was responsible for a ginormous budget, thousands of customers, and my boss was in another state. I had men and women, I had military, I had civilian. And so it was really a leadership playground in a lot of ways. And that was really amazing. I had 3 commanding officer tours while I was in the Navy. And the last one was over 1,200 people. I had 800 Navy and 400 Marines. And there are a ton of stories. There's a commanding officer job that I had in Texas, and that was really fun. I was the first woman Navy commanding officer there. And I didn't know that, but I got there and everyone was like, oh my gosh, she's a woman. And this was Southeast Texas. So this was a very big deal at the time. I didn't realize that there were places where it was still a really big deal for women to have a master's degree or women to just be in charge, but it was. And so that was a very fun experience. But when I left there, I had the honor of being presented by my wardroom, which is my group of officers, as an outgoing commanding officer. They presented me with a sword, and that meant I would follow you into battle anywhere. And I've never been so moved in my life by a gift ever, really, because it was awesome. Although coming close second was when I was in my a job in San Diego, and the chief's mess made me an honorary chief. And for any of the military who are listening, that meant more to me than becoming a commander in the Navy, actually, because the chief's mess, they're all about taking care of people. And when they all have to, unanimously agree that you're going to be an honorary chief. So lots of fun things. Perhaps the thing I'm proudest of in my life was when I created what was called the Returning Warrior Weekend Workshop. That was on my last tour. And the reason I helped to build this program was our sailors, our officers, all of them were coming back from Afghanistan or other places overseas, not transitioning very well back to civilian world. And we really had no program in place to help them. And uniquely, previously, the Navy always sent them in units. And most military services sent people over to war in units. But in this particular case, they were plucking individuals and sending them over there and then plopping them in the middle of a unit. So what that meant was when they were getting plucked and brought home, they had no team to compare circumstances, situations, feelings. Spouses had no team either, and they were really not doing very well. And I did not know what they needed, but I stood in front of about 400 or 500 of my team one weekend and I said, I'd like to build a program that serves you and your families better when you return. I don't know what that needs to look like, but I bet you do. Can you, if you're wanting to help me build this, please, let's do this. And I had a lot of volunteers and we organized them by skill sets, and we had chaplains and we had corpsmen and we had nurses and all sorts of specialty skill sets. And they came and they helped. And over a year, we built a curriculum. We had to screen people, and we put together this workshop with keynote speakers and small group sessions, and got them talking. We had about 120 military warriors and their spouses that would come, and we walked them through how their experiences were very resonating with so many others, and they were able to start the conversation. And we did some EMDR for eye movement desensitization reprocessing, and we had all sorts of safety net in terms of, I was very concerned right there. I knew there were a lot of people there with PTSD. I knew we were at risk, but I wanted them to feel the camaraderie and begin the conversation to start the healing. And I have to tell you, 100% of the people that went through the program recommended it for others and said it was transformational for them. And in fact, there was a small group discussion. One of the biggest problems, Hurricane, was soon as they got back, the warrior would say, I have to get back there. And they would want to sign up and get deployed again. And the spouse would say, what? Are you kidding me? I just did this year, an entire year, taking care of the kids, taking care of the family, doing my job as well, doing all of your jobs, and you want to leave again? And then they would take it very personally, as anybody would. But when you put them in a small group and you say to them, how many of you want to go back? And 100% of the military raise their hands. The spouse looks around and says, okay, this is not about me. This is not about me at all. There's something bigger at play here. And then you have a facilitator explaining why and what's going on there. So lots of conversations, and people would write and say, you saved our marriage. They'd say, you saved my life. I mean, there were just that kind of testimonials. So really moving. And I will tell you, we took it from my command. I was asked to spread it through the Southwest region. So we spread it through the Southwest region, and then it spread to the nation. And 17 years later, it's still in existence, helping people.
Oh, so you pioneered the system, a program that is actually helping lives on a day-to-day basis.
Now, I didn't do it alone, Hurricane. I had a wonderful team. I could not have done it alone. It took all of us, and it was, but yes, we did it. And there were lots of times we were told no, and it's not going to happen, and we don't have the funding, or we don't, just lots of obstacles that we had to overcome. But one of the things that you learn in the military is you can bulldoze through it, you can bulldoze under it, you can go over it, you can go around. We're going to figure out how to get the mission accomplished.
Well, I love the keywords. I mean, we can have a whole show about leadership and command and control and situation and stuff, because I mean, you are, I have to say, I'm in sales, and a lot of the stuff that actually we cover, is, in leadership, is these things, right? How to build through, and objections, and all these hurdles and stuff. And believe it or not, I've used a lot of military, strategy stuff. And also, I can tell you, one of my mentors and previous leader was actually a captain in the Air Force. So I learned a lot of his style and things like that. But the fact is, those things are legitimate. I mean, these are real things, and when you command, massively, these groups and these tactics and strategies, you need that. So I mean, first of all, I love what you said. I didn't do it by myself. It's everybody else. That's spoken as a true commander and leader, because you can't lead an army of you, right? You're leading. It's everybody else that makes it happen. I mean, but it takes also a good leader to actually work all these folks correctly, and put everybody in the right allocation, or I guess tactics, or assignments, if you want to call them missions. And I love what you said. The mission was like, so your language is still, it's all about, command, control, mission, strategy, which is awesome stuff. Now, well, thank you. And one more question about this. I mean, like I said, I would love to have a show just about, like a leadership, show, and talk about like all what it takes to really command, a large, fleet. I mean, of people. I mean, I don't know if I mean, I'm assuming as a commander, you have your own carrier or your own vessel, basically, right?
So I didn't, because I wasn't a surface warfare officer. My husband did 30 years in the Navy, and he was a carrier air wing commander. He was a Navy captain, actually. I commanded base shore stations.
Okay. Again, thank you for clarifying. But even that, I mean, it's not as easy as people think. I mean, you gotta have what it takes to do this, because that's where it's all happening. I mean, in the back, see, that's the thing. Like, this back office is front office, right? I mean, those guys go out. That's one thing. You're in the back. All the logistical stuff that needs to happen has to happen from you guys. You guys are the ones who give in the directives and all the things and the deployments and the assignments. I mean, at least that's what I think. I mean, just
You're right on target, Hurricane.
all right, good. Just making sure. And correct me. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I mean, again, from leadership, like I said, now it's funny because you and I we briefly talked about call signs, and as Hurricane Age. um, but in terms of, like, the Maverick, I mean, the in the movie Top Gun, I mean, that's Navy aviators, right?
Right.
So
That's
so
right. Most people think it's Air Force. Actually, Air Force recruiting keeps going up every time there's a Top Gun and a Maverick. I'm like, wait a minute, that should be Navy recruiting going up. But it's so funny because people somehow they miss that that's Navy. It
how
just,
how could that even happen? I mean,
I don't
it's on a
know.
carrier ship. I mean, it's
I
like you
don't
can't.
know. I
But
know.
I guess it's working one way or the other. It's benefited, right, somehow.
Right,
But but you, but it's a cool movie. I mean, I've watched the original one, as I was younger, and I watched the latest one, which just got just as good as the original. And obviously it's theatrical. It's a little different, but it does give a value, and it's almost, I mean, these movies kind of like highlight the armed forces, and the people that are working, and gives you a little and excitement, like, hey, I belong to this group and this crowd, and it's exciting even for people to watch. So again, I'm sure you had a great, terrific time, while you're doing that. Now, how did you possibly change from that to stem cells research? So how do we even transit? I mean,
it was a journey, Hurricane. So, it's funny. When you're in the military, you change jobs all the time. And I would tell you that in the first 12 years of my Navy career, every time they put me in a new job, I would think, oh my gosh, can I do this? Like, I don't know anything about this. You mean I'm going to be in charge of 6 warehouses that built ships, and I have landing craft, and I have a Mexican Navy ship coming into my pier, and I don't know the first thing about this, or administrative build, in charge of personnel and training and advancement and all of these words that I didn't know anything about. And it took, doing it and doing it and doing it and succeeding and succeeding and succeeding until finally, after the 12th year, I'm thinking, okay, bring it on. I can do it. I now feel confident that you can throw me in any area and I can take care of it and get the job done. So when I was getting out of the Navy and transitioning and retiring, your person helping you with your resume says, okay, what industry do you want to go into? And I said, I don't know. It could be medical, it could be commercial, it could be industrial, it could be, all of these things. And they're like, no, 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 no. You have to pick an industry. And I was like, why do I have to pick an industry? Why? I want a leadership job. I want to lead a team. I want to make a difference for a customer. That's what I want to do. And so ultimately, I ended up in technology and not stem cell technology. I ended up in network and security and data and voice technology. And I did that for a while, enjoyed it, learned a lot because I didn't know the difference between a router and a switch at the time, but I was now in charge of architects and engineers and project managers that did know those things. But I was actually speaking, here's what we did this week to the client. And I'm like, words I don't know, but I'm used to this at this point, right? So then from there, went into the software side of the house, was a vice president for McAfee. And that was an amazing job and really enjoyed that. And from there, moved to a little town, Culver, Indiana, where my daughters wanted to go to Culver Girls Academy. It's a boarding school. I'm like, no, 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 no. You're not getting away from me in high school. That I'm not losing you out of the nest that early. So we moved there. I had no idea what I was going to do when we moved there. It was the first time in my life I feel like I was jumping off of the fast track or the career track. But interestingly enough, the dean of the Culver Girls position opened up, and I was like, I could do that. So I did that. I became the dean of the boarding school, and then became a consultant back for network, and then became a director of client services for a network and security company. And then my fabulous husband, who I mentioned was a naval aviator in 30 years and did 1,200 landings on an aircraft carrier, he was diagnosed with early Alzheimer's. And Hurricane, that is where the story of stem cells for me begins. Now, I will tell you, I had been interested in health for since probably 1996. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome in 96, fibromyalgia in 99, postural orthostatic tachycardia, which is POTS, another autoimmune disorder in 2005, where you literally don't get enough blood to the brain, and so you pass out. And I was grounded in the Navy for 2 weeks. I couldn't drive, and this was before we had laptops and home computers. So I was down hard for a bit while they figured out what to do. And in the end, they were giving me a blood pressure medicine to raise my blood pressure. Sounds like a very bad idea, doesn't it? But that was the alternative. That was the only thing they needed to do. So I had done a lot of the things that you talk about in your podcast around, sleep, nutrition, health, just really having to, because when you have three autoimmune disorders, you're very susceptible. One year I had 14 antibiotics in a year. So that's how sick I was at one point. So I was finally kind of getting my health better, although the POTS was still very much a problem. And my husband was diagnosed with early Alzheimer's, and it was a very, very rapid decline. So early Alzheimer's actually declines more quickly. And he had the gene type from both parents, APOE4/4. So he went in what normally would be 13 years, 11 to 13 years of stages to go through, he did in 2 years. So he is, like 5 and an adult toddler in so many ways, can't always dress himself, just really know to do toothpaste on the toothbrush. That's what we were at a place where it was worse than that. He was no longer even talking. He was a shell of his former self, not trying to be funny, sleeping the day away. And I was just desperate. So I had been trying everything. I tried stem cells out of country. We did that 4 times for both of us. Didn't work. We tried hyperbaric chamber. That was expensive and also didn't help at all. We had certainly revamped the diet and even though we pretty much ate pretty well, we pulled out all alcohol. We pulled out soda. We pulled out any kind of, certainly sugars, white flours. We pulled out anything that was genetically modified. We only used quality fats, those kinds of, we tried every training program for exercise to get all of that's a huge part of any kind of Alzheimer's protocol. Working on getting really deep sleep. I'm very grateful for the podcast you've done on sleep as well, but I even took a course on how to get deep sleep. Nothing was working, nothing. And I was at a point of absolute desperation because now I'm living with what is essentially a 5-year-old zombie shell of my husband's former self. And that was heartbreaking. And I fell into a depression. I had broken my foot. I had sprained my ankle. I had all of my coping mechanisms, which were really pickleball, walks around the neighborhood, socializing. They were all taken away. And even just asking my husband for a glass of water was more than he could do. So I'm grounded in a chair and really struggling. And this friend of mine said, I know you've been doing stem cells, but I have a product that has changed our family's life and it activates your own stem cells. And I said, sign me up. I didn't care that there were 90 clinical studies. I just needed to work for one person. Do you know what I mean? 90 double-blind placebo-controlled studies, great. But tell me one testimonial. And there were many of people with Alzheimer's that had improved. And I was like, okay, I'll be happy to try. And it was not expensive. That's, and it's this tiny little patch, right? This tiny little quarter-size patch that has no medicine in it. Nothing is going into the body. We'll talk about how it works in a second. And I was like, sure, let's try it. Well, the very first week, the 3.5-hour nap that he had been taking for a year, he didn't take a nap. He didn't nap at all. He didn't fall asleep at 7 p.m. He began engaging in conversation like a dam broke, and he was just talkative and chatty and funny again. His personality came back. And I was just overwhelmed by gratitude and shocked, really. And additional things came over time. He regained his ability to whistle and drum. And even after 5 months, he regained the ability to smell, which he'd lost 15 years ago. So good neuro things happening there. And I got out of pain from my ankle. There's actual patches that remove pain better than anything better than Percocet and Vicodin or any drug. These patches take your pain from, 10 to 0 or 1 in 15 seconds. It is astonishing. And it's so unbelievable when you put them on yourself, you can't even believe it. You 12 hours later, you take them off and you're like, oh, yep, nope, they're definitely the patches is what's doing this. But the patches that were really making a difference for my husband is called X39. It's a stem cell activation patch. It elevates your GHK-CU. And oh, by the way, his blood pressure dropped 37 points. And not only did my depression lift, I have not had to take that medicine to raise my blood pressure since. I have not had a fainting episode. I have no symptoms of any of the autoimmune disorders I had, no fibromyalgia, no chronic fatigue syndrome, no rosacea, none of that. It all disappeared. Better sleep, better energy, way better energy. Thank you. I needed all the energy I could be possibly tapped into to be a care provider. That is not for the faint of heart, care providing. So it just changed our lives, and not just mine. My sister, chronic microscopic colitis, she had 6 years, disappeared in 3 weeks. So the way the patch works is a little more intuitive than you might think, because you're like, well, if nothing's going in the skin, how does this possibly do anything? But you know how when you go outside in the sun, your body gets a light signal and it makes vitamin D or it makes melanin. So also, if I looked at you with night vision goggles on, I would see light inside of you. So what this patch is, it's like a nanocrystal structure inside hermetically sealed sticker that reflects your own light back into your body at a very specific wavelength. And the X39 patch raises and elevates a copper peptide called GHK-CU. Never heard of it before any of this. I had certainly not. But when you actually go to PubMed, you can Google it and you'll find it has been studied really significantly for 50 years. And what it does, it's proven to do, because you can do it in injections, you can have it in creams, but it increases stem cells. It produces growth factors. GHK-CU is an anti-inflammatory. It protects lungs. It's amazing for the brain and nerves, and we'll talk about a study, but it's anti-anxiety, it's anti-pain, it's an anti-cancer. GHK-CU, not only does it reset the programmed cell death of cancer cells, but it doesn't affect healthy cells. So it's really repairing damaged DNA and resetting genes. In fact, it resets 84 genes to cancer inhibition or, preventing growth. It's good for skin and hair. And you can actually see, I've got all of these sprouts. My husband's bald spot closed up and his hair came in darker. Not entirely, it's closing up, but I will tell you, it's his gray hair became dark chestnut brown again. That's amazing to watch. I've had all this unruly hair growth, but I'll take it. But it also, GHK-CU is known to be really helpful to the heart. It reduces fibrinogen synthesis, which is the top predictor for cardiovascular disease, and it increases myostatin, which is the thing that inhibits heart failure. So amazing benefits in this GHK-CU, and you wear this patch 12 hours on and 12 hours off. And it doesn't even have to be on your skin, Hurricane. Like I have it on my, usually back of the neck, below the belly button, but it could actually be on the outside of my shirt, on the outside of a sweatshirt, because the light is going to go through your clothing. So people that are very sensitive, there's a lot of autistic children garnering amazing benefits. And they can actually stick it the opposite direction, or we wear it 12 hours, we take it off, we put it on our pets, our pet collars, because they reap amazing benefits. It's just the most astonishing technology. And there are 90 clinical studies, many of which are double-blind, placebo-controlled. I'll talk about 2 because they're my favorite 2, and they're actually kind of highlighted on my website, because you can see EEGs. You can, it's hard to see cellular regeneration. It's hard to see the resetting of 3,000 to 4,000 genes to a younger, healthier state in 24 hours. But you can see in an EEG a color map changing. And so in it, you'll see, red spheres, and the red color is indicative of inflammation or anxiety or PTSD or depression, and hypercoherence, which is not a good communicating brain between the 2 hemispheres. In 3 weeks later, you take another EEG after they've worn just X39 for 12 hours on and 12 hours off, and the color map has changed. You'll see yellows and greens and blues coming in, and people are beginning to report, wow, I'm feeling less anxious. My memory seems to be improving. I'm really on task. And in 6 weeks, the whole color map is improved even more. And they did find in this 2019 study that it increased GHK-CU. That was a blood test. So yes, throughout the body, it increased the GHK-CU. And so all the benefits of that are being reaped. It balanced cell and nerve regeneration. It supported cell and nerve regeneration and balanced the brain, that left and right hemisphere, improved coherence. It improved the nervous system. It lowered anxiety. It decreased brain inflammation. It improved memory, focus, cognitive brain function, and also task processing, ease and speed. And I got to not only watch that happen in my husband right away, but I got to experience it myself. And and now I've gotten to watch a lot of people experience it and talk about having been suicidal and now they're lifted and they're feeling so much happier, or ADHD and no longer having to take their medicines, or PTSD and they no longer have any symptoms. So no longer nightmares, no longer all of those things. It's just astonishing what, and I would never have thought of these things, anxiety, depression, PTSD, ADHD, as inflammation in the brain, or something that our own bodies would know what to do with. But our bodies are so wise. We have an innate wisdom. And when we give it the tools like our stem cells that we need, they can go to work for us. And I didn't know that when you're 30, half of your stem cells are dormant. I mean, I didn't know when you're 60, they're almost all dormant. And so when you learn that, you realize that's why we're aging, and that's why we're not healing as quickly as when we were a child.
Well, I don't know where to start. There's so much there. It's. I have to say, like, I'm listening to you, and you just cured everything. I mean, the patch really cured everything.
Your
And
body knows how to cure. The stem cells made you, Hurricane. They made you. There was the first two cells, so they can become brain or lung or heart or liver or kidney. They can become bone or muscle or anything, right? So yes, everything. There's nothing I haven't seen it improve.
oh wait, hold on. So I'm gonna go back a little bit because there's so much there. Well, first thing, I'm gonna go to the transition and then we're gonna go into the deep dive because the stuff that you talked about right now, I think anyone watching or listening, their eyes and ears are just popped up, bigger, and they're just like, absorbing all this stuff. Because I have to tell you, there is no one that's probably living with that any type of pain or some sort of a inflammation. I mean, it's just natural process because of the food we eat and the way we live these days, and that's all there is. Everybody we know, or at least someone we know in our life, has some sort of illness that is probably chronic and needs to have some kind of procedure or some access to technology or science, and typically they just camouflage it through medicine and pharma products, and you just take off the pain and the symptoms, but the root is still there. I mean, the root cause is still there. The problem does exist. You can do it, and it's probably deteriorating further, and that's all
Right.
there is. But so first thing I want to just highlight a couple of things about you specifically. One is that transition point because again, you said a couple of things just for people that are watching. The concept of where you were as a true leader, you could have done anything, anytime, and that's exactly it. As a leader, you learn to be adaptable no matter what situation you put in. You'll be able to adjust because it's really just you get a set of circumstances, you evaluate what you have to work with, and you work with, and you know how to deploy people correctly. And he did that. And by the way, you've gone through some big. I mean, McAfee is pretty large. I mean, you were leading some of that stuff. I mean, that whole world is actually today's. Like we want cybersecurity, we want all the tech and the stuff, and it's big stuff. That gives you a lot of knowledge there. And then you made that move, and became the dean for that prep school, and that's also pretty cool stuff. And but then you kind of like got yourself into this health, I guess crisis, between you and your husband. And I mean, specifically your husband. I mean, Alzheimer's is known to be deteriorating, and people completely just deplete quickly, and it's a wrap. For a lot of people, that's it. I mean, you don't have any more life. It's just you exist, but you don't really. You're not alive. In a way, right? I mean, in terms of activity and stuff. So it's a sad, thing, but it's real and it's happening at a rate that is rapidly growing across the world. Many factors we can point the fingers a lot of areas, but again,
Yeah.
we can talk about the type of food, the stuff in the atmosphere, the pollution, all the stuff that's around us is affecting us, and there's a lot of things that do contribute to Alzheimer's, and it's just a fact, folks. You can do the research, and we are surrounded by triggers to this stuff that can impact your ability. And now, just I want you for in a minute, when I'm done, I guess from the what do you call it, the breakdown of the pieces that you just gave us, to explain a little bit about, like, the concept of the Alzheimer's. How does it deteriorate the nerve, the nerves connect, the neural connections, and all that stuff. We can talk about that. I mean, I'm not the expert, so you know more about this, and I'd refer to you. But the fact is, you had to deal with that. That's a big sudden change. I mean, here's your husband who's, I mean, first of all, 1,200, landings on the aircraft. That's pretty awesome stuff. I mean, these things, I don't know how they do them, but that distance is not even enough to run, and let alone to drop, a plane that's coming at, I don't know, 300, miles an hour. But it's very, amazing to have done that. But then for you to see that all of a sudden, all that is kind of like switch off. It's just like all of a sudden, boom, it's gone. It's got to be devastating for you, for your family, and certainly now, as you said, you're a caregiver now. It's a very difficult, because it's like he wasn't able to do anything on his own. So and you can get home health aides, you can get some stuff. I mean, ultimately, you probably have access to some the equipment, through insurance and all stuff, or even can buy stuff that can help, but it would never make the person, whole. I mean, it will just give you the tools to operate and kind of move person, get them some stuff, but you got to feed them, you got to certain things, you got to remind them, and again, they're basically not present. They're present, but not, physically, they're just there, right? It is, I mean, it's, you know, I don't want to wish, that on anyone. It's not something that you want to experience. It's not something you want to have on your own or your family. And it is, dramatic. And certainly for you, you had coping mechanisms, in place, but also you got your own health issues. I mean, and by the way, you've mentioned a few, like, autoimmune, things that affect your immune, and so basically your cells are being, destroyed by its own body system, and the warriors inside are just like, confused, and they just take care. Oh, I don't like this cell. Let me just go after it, right?
That's
And start
exactly right.
they start working, magic inside, and just like, having a battle internally, right? So that's all difficult stuff. Now, all these things are, for the most, I would say, for an average person, they probably just say, I'm out. And they'll just bail out. I mean, I have to say, it's not as, we're talking about on the show. Obviously, it's easy for me to say these things, but just imagine if this, I mean, we get phased by little things, and we get kind of like, oh my God. Imagine if you have all this, and it's not only you, now your family, and you have, and here's the thing, you also look at your path. I mean, you've been successful, both of you, and you have all this stuff, and then all of a sudden, like, what the hell happened? You know, and it's a difficult place to be. But there's one thing that I noticed is that you didn't give up. Now, you talked about energy. And I gotta say, I was gonna tell you, your energy is like, forget about it. Now I know the trick. I know the source of that energy.
Correct.
I
It
think I
is.
want some of that too. But
Oh,
but,
yeah.
but it's funny because, like, you, before we talked about all the actual patch and everything, no one would have ever thought, anything from what you stated on, like, the status and the health conditions that you were in, and again, just looking at you and the energy, and that you're emitting right now. I mean, you coming through this screen, the teleprompter, like, alive to me, like, you're literally projecting across, right? And everybody can hear that, if they're just on the radio, but certainly, as a visual, I mean, they can see that energy, the smile, the vitality. But you talked about how you went from nothing, no feelings, no movement, no nothing. I mean, you could not, to one little thing. And you've tried a lot of things. That's the other thing. You've tried many things. I mean, antibiotics. Listen, they take the infections off. Basically, they fight the infections. But you said 40, right? If I recall.
If I,
Did you say 40 antibiotics a year?
oh, 14.
14.
14
Okay.
and
Uh,
12-month period. And this was way before I was educated at all. Let me just say that. Like I would never do that now. I now know the impact on the microbiome and I'm so much smarter and it kills me that I did that back then. But we didn't know. It
one
hit the
anti
head.
one antibiotic can destroy you. I mean,
Oh,
these
for
things
decades,
are
for decades.
powerful. They're powerful, and we're not supposed to have them. Although we all make the mistake to take them sometimes. I mean, we had the pandemic. A lot of us who've been through COVID, you probably had some sort of antibiotic given to you.
I will tell you, Hurricane, as someone going into the pandemic with three autoimmune disorders, I was nervous, but I was doing all the things I knew. I never, knock on wood, never got sick. I never got sick. I mean, I'm one of the only people that I know, neither did my husband. But I will tell you, I was doing a lot of things, and we can talk about glutathione, we can talk about other things later, but I'm really proud of that because, you know, when you get good sleep, when you prioritize exercise, when you eat really healthy, when you try to detox your body, when you do all the things that your systems need, you can take a little struggling system like mine, even before the patches, and you can really boost it and try to help it fight anything.
Well, thank you for that because that's an important thing. I mean, I know you mentioned like how we talk about sleep and healthy nutrition, all the stuff. And really, those are the basic foundations of how we're supposed to operate. I mean, we're supposed to sleep enough. We're supposed to eat correctly. No GMO business. No, sugary business. None of the fake food. It's just original, authentic. Nature bound, made. As it's intended and straight from the land to you without any tolerance, right? But that's not how the world works. At least first of all, most of the people in the metropolitan areas, I think they're out of that luck. I mean, it's just very limited access to that. Now, if you're in somewhere where closer to farms and things like that, there's probably a better chance, or if you have enough land to even grow your own. That's one thing. Although that there are people that even in the cities they can grow their own basic elements and supplement their own nutritions correctly. But then you mentioned something about like the supplements or the different vitamins and things that you have, the minerals that you have to add into your body. So all these things are great to have. And I watch a lot of nutrition, and we have a nutrition channel, so I track everybody about stuff. And I have to tell you, like, ever since I started personally, I am completely at a loss in words because I don't even know what to eat anymore. Because literally, I mean, seriously, like you
Yeah,
go
you can
shopping, it's like
find something one way or the other on every single food, can't you?
what the hell do I mean, there like you gotta find. I mean, I was just funny. I was looking at this guy. He was talking about the apple and the code, like, if it's a 9, it's organic, if it's an 8, it's GMO. Well, I mean, like, how many of us really look at that sticker and see, is it a 9, is it a 4, is it a 2, is
Right,
it an 8?
right.
We don't. We just grab them and that's it. Now, the only I have to be I'm lucky I'm in Jersey, so at least in the summertime, we have a lot of farms and we can go and shop literally from the farm. So now I'm not sure if they don't use any pesticide or any type of stuff, but at least it's still the source. And there's no wax on these things, so you can actually get an up. And believe it or not, I've used these things and they last longer, they perish slowly, and you can tell they're not really bad. And I buy the ones that are like completely non, and they just kind of all of a sudden they have cancer in them. I mean, they're really like literally they get these spots and they just it rip, I mean, it's just they perish so fast and quickly. I mean, I almost did a whole video about this tomato that everybody's buying because actually I do have a membership into that, like the Restaurant Depot, and which is basically
Huh?
where the restaurants shop, at least the local stuff. And I had this box of tomatoes, and then all of a sudden I see these tomatoes, kind of like I've never seen a tomato growing inside a tomato. I swear to God, it was like the weirdest thing. I'm like, my wife was like, "What the hell?" There's one growing inside one. I mean, how does that even happen? I mean, I don't know. That's not natural. It's not supposed to happen that way. But like stuff like that. But this is exactly the problem. We go around today, and you're like, what's up? I mean, like, what possibly? I mean, you have to. You almost your milk is not good. Everything that you were told it's good is not. I mean, oatmeal's not sure. Your cereals, breakfast is champion, not good. Like whatever, like sugar galore, everything. And no cholesterol. Because so you've been like, I think we've been kind of lied to for the sake of money. I mean, it's all about profits at the end of the day. So people they don't care. They just sell stuff and they get you like you mesmerized and you buy. Oh yeah, this is the good stuff. but because we don't do the research now, I think all of a sudden with the expansion of social media and personal experts are coming out, not that bot version of experts, the people that actually doing their own due diligence and share. Now, of course, you have to be take this with the grain of salt, because it's not all peachy out there. So you have to look at who you're actually getting the information from. But you do your outreach and you search, these are real dietitians, nutritionists, are they experts and whatever. And then you, again, at the end of the day, folks, we don't promote one versus the other. What we say to you, at least that's my philosophy. We give you all the facts, all the stuff. It's up to you to research it. Do the work. That's all I say. I mean, I'm not an expert to tell you like, hey, go here or go there, but I bring you the resource. I bring you information, guess, and hopefully you'll get, to do the work to yourself. And we should do that for everything in our lives, right? So anyways, so this was just a brief thing of, how you kind of circumvent the whole pandemic and just like switching a lifestyle that helped you at least manage. But then you discovered this whole thing as you were looking for a solution. And I mean, stem cells. We all hear about stem cells research. It's been in the discussion for a couple of decades. As a matter of fact, like one of the pioneers was Christopher Reeves, the Superman dude. I mean, he kind of started a lot of work in there. And and it just became a whole thing. And I think today more than ever, I mean, they have fat cells that actually you can generate your own stem cells from, as opposed to like embryos, which that was the original, and there was a lot of controversy about that. We killing babies to get and again, one of the places that today everybody's talking about, you don't even have to kill anyone, you don't have to do any of that. The placentas have all of that stuff, and that's something that I was told by an expert. you know everybody that delivers, there's a placenta that's rich in all this stuff. And so now there's ways to do these things. But you're right, it's that simple, almost ingredients of creation, right? Those are the little elements that wherever all the DNA. Now DNA is everything for us. Now you talked about how this stuff kind of removes, destroys. Now you mentioned GHK-CU, right? That's actually the what is that exactly? Just to clarify.
It's a copper peptide. It's one of your most probably significant peptides in your body. And there's actually entire books, like here's a book, How to Reverse Aging, a comprehensive guide to copper peptides. This author takes all the different studies on copper peptide and he describes what it does, but he also describes about, peptides are a type of biological molecule made up of a chain of amino acids smaller than proteins. We think of, we actually know peptides because sometimes we think of insulin. Insulin is a peptide, for example. We know some peptides, but this one is a peptide that's less well known. This gentleman had a right branch bundle blockage. Nothing you can do about that. No surgery, no medicine at all. This is a Dr. John Harmon. And his cardiologist said, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. Well, he wore the patches, and in 14 months, his right branch bundle blockage disappeared. Just went away. It wasn't there in the next scan. And they'd actually done a study on the heart. In 6 weeks, they found that the cardiovascular system began functioning as if it were 8 weeks younger. And I think that's what was working for me. I think my whole cardiovascular system just did a reboot and got healthier and allowed enough blood to get to my brain to keep me from passing out. I mean, it was just really that amazing.
So, I mean, this whole thing is amazing. First of all, like I said, you just cured everything with one little simple patch. Now, I'm exaggerating. It's not that simple. I mean, I'm sure there's enough study and back, to make it what it is and how it actually does function. But listen, people buy the nicotine patch, right? to stop the nicotine cravings. This is beyond all that. This actually takes, it really resets your body, into where it's supposed to be. But
it's optimizing. It's allowing your body to find homeostasis and to optimize itself. So nothing going in the skin. In fact, imagine this, Hurricane. There were over 300 Olympic athletes that wore the LifeWave patches in the 2008 Olympics. And Tom Brady and the Kansas City Chiefs and Ivory Sully. And there are a lot of people. I mean, Serena Williams, David Beckham, Michael Phelps. These people have been wearing these patches. And I will tell you, that did not, as great as that is to say, that made me mad. Like, why haven't I heard of them? Why haven't I heard of these? Well, I kind of get it. I have 3 doctors that are on these patches. 3. And when I asked them about it, I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me? And they're like, well, I could get in trouble for just telling you to take vitamin C to prevent a virus these days. We have to be really careful with everything that we put out in the world right now. And I was just like, oh my goodness. So yeah, I mean, there's no, they're FDA compliant, but we have to understand our doctors are typically taught through medical school, which is really a curriculum built by Big Pharma, and they know surgery and they know drugs. And they don't necessarily know more of the alternative functional medicine, holistic approaches. But when they do, they can't necessarily even talk about them without getting into trouble, which is really kind of sad. But people can go dig into any of the studies, and each there are different patches. So I do want to point out there is a patch. So X39 is the patch. Everyone has to start with this. It is $99 for 1 month of patches. That is so reasonable, right? It's 150 retail, but if you become a wholesale member, it's a $99 a month, and you wear, there are 30 patches in this little envelope. I always recommend coupling it with the anti-inflammation patch, because inflammation actually eats up stem cells. So if you lower inflammation, and we all have inflammation, we have inflammation from the foods we eat, the air we breathe, the water we bathe in, right? We just can't, the stress that we experience. So that's why this was the #1 patch until X39 came out. X39 just came about 4 years ago, but the Eon has been around much longer than that. So this reduces inflammation throughout your body. It's called the happy patch, actually, because it balances your autonomic nervous system. But and the third one that I would point out, particularly having come on the other side of a pandemic now, glutathione is what I was taking via IV and orally before I knew anything about the patches, because that is your body's master antioxidant. I mean, for people who don't know about glutathione, I strongly recommend investigating glutathione, because it is, in fact, the people who live the longest in the world have the highest levels of glutathione. And it does all sorts of things, from increasing cartilage and protecting your DNA to initiating repair. But what the 3 of these patches together will rid your body of spiked proteins. It takes just like 2 months. And everyone that's had the vaccination has spike proteins, and everyone that has had COVID has spike proteins. And if you haven't investigated spike proteins, they are gnarly and they are damaging to your overall long-term health, from your gut, your brain, your lungs, your heart. Very problematic, and you want to get rid of them one way. If you don't do it this way, do it a different way, but just do it, because they are really, really problematic. So the glutathione in the IV that I was getting was, first of all, if you take it orally, it's got to go through the digestion. Does it get where it needs to go? Right? We have all these problems with supplements. And similarly, even in IV, the results of an IV of glutathione were it was raising glutathione levels 27% for 7 minutes. This glutathione patch raises my glutathione optimally by my own body making more glutathione 300%, and it stays there for 24 hours. So I've got kind of a no-brainer, really. I have 2 years worth of I have oral glutathione sitting in packets in my house that was very expensive, but I'm like, why would I do that when I have this? It doesn't make any sense. So that each patch does a different thing. There's this SP6 patch, which has changed my relationship with food. So Hurricane, I've done a really good job through my life working hard to, eat all the colors of the rainbow as colored by God. My kids and I, we used to play a game. Which colors have you had today? And, all of this to try to eat healthy. But I'm a self-proclaimed sugar and salt addict. I really am. It is not easy for me. I like white knuckle my way through life so far, not eating it. When I wasn't eating, I was thinking about it. It was a pure effort and discipline. I have good discipline, but it was not easy. This patch is sort of like the natural body's version of Ozempic. Like it just stops your hunger and sugar cravings in a healthy way, with no drugs and no stimulants and no needles. And it does part of that by supporting organs, your hypothalamus, your thyroid, your adrenal glands, your kidneys, your liver, your pancreas, your intestines, your balancing of your hormones. And so it's reducing hunger and sugar cravings so that I have this very normal, this must be what the rest of the world has always been like, but not me, where, I don't think about sugar or salt anymore. I don't think about food, like when's my next meal. I don't stand in front of the refrigerator going, what do I want to eat even when I'm not hungry? I'm not stress eating. And as a care provider, I was there. I would stand in, the food was comfort, right? That was just something that I was doing. And so I love that I eat till I'm satiated and I stop when I'm not. And I'm not eating when I'm not hungry. There's just a very normalizing, lovely patch. There are just different patches. The energy enhancer is the one that I think is the one that it was the first patch. It's the one that the Olympics were wearing because it really improves performance. Also burns 300 to 600 calories a day, and it helps the other patches become more productive. But the best part about it is it's actually improving your body's ability to produce more energy from fat burning by improving mitochondrial function. And I was doing a lot of investigation into how do I improve my husband's mitochondrial function, because when you go dig into Alzheimer's or any of these major diseases, the mitochondrial failure is part of the big problem. And so this, knowing that this is improving mitochondrial function, but it just gives you, it's not like a shot of espresso or God forbid a Red Bull. I've never had a Red Bull, but if you did and you're living on these, you need to try this instead, because this is just an Energizer Bunny energy all day long until you take it off. It's just helped me. The first week when I started wearing these patches, I was shocked. I'm in the kitchen, I'm cooking. I'm like, I don't know why I hated cooking. Cooking isn't so bad. Why do I hate cooking? And then I thought about it. I'm like, I never had the energy to cook. Like, it just takes a lot of energy at the end of the day. And I want you to know, this is not my full-time job. Like, I do this in the margins on the side. I have a full-time job as a director of client services for a technology company. I oversee a program management office and project managers, and I love that job. This is my passion because I get to help people. I have people texting me every day, out of pain, feeling better, thanking me. You changed my life, family, friends, and then it just kind of kept growing. Right now, it's all I can do to keep from tackling somebody who's on crutches, because I'm like, I have something for you. I can get you out of pain. We can start healing your cells. We can have that cellular rejuvenation. We can improve your bone density. We can improve your lean muscle mass. One of the things that X39 does is it helps your body improve lean muscle mass. And there's even a pouch called X49, where X39 increases your GHK-CU, X49 increases AHK-CU. It's a daughter peptide found specifically in the brain and the heart and the muscles. So you don't get to tell your stem cells where to go to work. I would love to say to my husband's stem cells, you all need to go to work on the Alzheimer's, get to the brain right away. They may say to me, Darlene, your husband was a naval aviator for 30 years. We're starting with his liver. I have no idea, right? So what I do know is I can get him on the X49, which is specifically only found, AHK-CU is found in the heart, the brain, and the muscle. And so he has improved his body muscle tone, and improved his bone density, and improved all of the, it's just been amazing. But I love the ability to, especially me and my age, like everyone talks about losing weight at my age. I'm not ever going to talk about losing weight. I don't really care what the scale says. What I want to do is put on more muscle. I want to lose body fat. I want to be leaner, but I don't care. I don't care what the scale says, because every time people diet, they just initially they lose muscle and they lose water. And those are the worst things you can lose. You really want to hold on to every bit of muscle that you have. And as we grow older, because the fall risks, those are the, bone breakage, all of that is just so problematic for us. So I love that there's a patch that gives me that extra boost and helps me do that. There's a patch for sleep called Silent Nights. Our sleep changed dramatically. But if you just did X39, like, not everybody has health issues and needs everything, right? Just X39 and maybe adding Eon, the anti-inflammation patch, even for just 2 months, so you can reduce that inflammation to get those stem cells really working for you. And they recommend that you do the X39 1 month for every decade you are old to activate all of the stem cells that are in your body. And then you could stop then and just start aging as a normal person would start aging, but you've at least activated all of your stem cells. Most people love the energy they feel, the deeper sleep that they're getting, the pain relief that they're getting, and they watch things just like things they never thought would go away just start coming off of their list, issue after issue. And there's really your point was excellent. There isn't anyone that I know that can't benefit from a little extra energy or sleep or pain relief or but when people that are on medicines have to pay attention. Your blood pressure is going to, if you have high blood pressure, I predict that your blood pressure will drop, and then you need to have less blood pressure medicine. So track it. Your cholesterol will optimize. So track it, because you probably don't need to be on cholesterol medicines. And many people are not taking their ADHD medicines anymore. There are people that no longer need their thyroid medicines. And hormone balancing, just getting your hormones balanced can create all sorts of goodness in the world. Just getting more sleep, just having the energy to go exercise. It's like this self-licking ice cream in the good way. The more sleep I get, the more energy I have, the more I'm wanting to exercise. The more exercise, the better I feel, the happier I feel, the better decisions I make, the better choices I make at the grocery store. The more I have control over my hormones, the better I'm feeling and making good choices. I'm making organic choices, or I'm eating healthier food. So it just kind of gets better and better and better over time.
I'm listening to you, like, and you again, you have a solution for almost every illness and pain that exists. And I mean, obviously the core is like you'll get your stem cells to function and to be like,
Yeah.
supercharged, and the rest is history. All the other stuff is almost like an added value. Uh,
Yeah.
but so there's a couple of questions that probably people are watching and listening right now would have. I have them. You know, can you have all those patches at the same time? One, I mean, so basically you just got to put five
Yeah.
patches or six
You,
patches and
you can, and I will tell you, you shouldn't. Like, that's part of my job now, is to keep you from doing something like that. I did that. My husband did that. We really had no problem. But not everybody can do that. We have been leading a pretty clean life. So the only negative is you could detox too fast, because the X39 alone is going to increase your glutathione levels more than that IV did for me. It's going to increase your glutathione levels 30%. That's your master detoxer. So you're going to start dumping things from lymph nodes and fat cells, right? You're going to detox. So when you detox, you can start to, if you're not drinking enough water and flushing it fast enough, you could get a headache or you could feel fatigue. That means you're going too quickly. If you're not feeling great, then you're going too quickly, because you're not dumping it fast enough. So we might slow it down. So I typically would put people on X39 and Eon initially. We would do that for like a week. And then if you want to add glutathione, we would start with that like twice a week. There was a study done where people that needed a bone knee surgery, because they were like bone on bone, or they just needed a knee replacement, or they needed knee surgery. They wore these three patches that we talked about for the spike proteins. They wore the Eon and the glutathione on either side of the knee. And in 2 or 3 months, zero went on to get knee surgery. Zero. Because of the ability to increase cartilage in the knee and reduce pain.
so
So yes, I wear all the patches, because why wouldn't I? They all have great benefit. You don't have to. There are a couple patches that are for nighttime specifically, that are only worn at night. There's an Alavita patch that's really good for organs. It's the patch that all the women love for their face, because it reduces fine lines and wrinkles. It tightens up your whole face. It sounds so crazy to say that it's just, you feel it getting tighter, but you do. You have more collagen. You have actually, but even though it's always marketed as your, fine line and wrinkle patch and your, instead of Botox kind of patch, what I love really about Alavita is it's elevating your epithelium. So it's improving your organs. Your skin is your biggest organ. But when you think about it, your front lobes, your adrenal glands, your liver, your hypothalamus, your pituitary gland, your thyroid gland, your pancreas, all of those are improving in their health. And there's a study that proves that, in addition to mental health. But that patch, for example, is worn at night. And I wear it right here at night in the third eye. It stimulates the pineal gland there. You don't have to. You could put it under your belly button or behind your, you should see my husband at night. We've got a patch here. We've got a silent night. We
you're
look like
patched up.
we're patched up. And I'm patched right now with, with several actually. I don't have to wear Ice Wave anymore. I'm not in pain anymore. Most people don't have to wear Ice Wave longer than a couple of weeks because the X39, the Eon, gets to the root of why they are hurting, whether that's a back pain or another kind of pain. It's such an honor and a privilege to be able to patch someone with Ice Wave. I had a gal, we have a doctor friend who's like, I can't patch her today. Can you help me get her Ice Wave patch? Because Ice Wave is a bit of a science. You need to place it in the right place. The other ones, it's less important where you put them, but Ice Wave is, you've got to find the right spot for the pain to go away. And so I had a gal who came over and she had already taken medicine and she'd had a brain surgery and neck fusion and she had lived in pain for years. She had cried the whole morning and she was at this point where she was saying, I just can't take it anymore. I can't stand it. She was at an 8 pain after the medicine. She came over, we Ice Wave patched her, and in less than a minute, she was at a 1. She went from an 8 to a 1 in her pain, and she just couldn't believe it. And she's like, I'm having trouble keeping from crying out of just joy and relief. So, I mean, can you even imagine how great you feel when you are able to take someone out of pain like that? And that's why it's hard for me not to tackle people that I know are hurting, because I'm like, I can get you out of pain so fast. We just need to put these 2 patches on. You don't even have to put them on their skin. I actually did a show one time where I set up a booth. We patched over their clothing and they just couldn't even believe it. Like we could get them out of pain, the pain that they said, there's no way you're going to get me out of pain. We did.
So just for the critics out there, people know their pain patches, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
they have those. How different is this? I mean, I'm talking about the one that is for pain. Ultimately,
yeah.
the stem one,
None of these have medicine going in your skin. None of them. That's all light and energy. Pain is actually blocked energy. This one is sort of magic. I don't know how to say it other than it starts to get the energy moving, and therefore by removing the block, you can actually look at, there are pictures of infrared measures on, we have a line for animals on this patch called AccuLife, and there's a video where you can see it being placed on horses and it taking away the pain, because there's no placebo effect for horses, right? You can actually see it working on them, but it's actually having a cooling effect. The light and the energy that it's reflecting in is moving energy, and it's sort of blocking the pain signal to the brain. So that's why the placement is so critical. When you get the right spot, you're like, okay, that's it. And it's amazing, but it's just amazing. And it reduces inflammation, but it's got the same kind of cooling effect like blue laser. I mean, a lot of people know about red light therapy, blue light therapy, infrared light therapy, and that makes sense to them. They just forget that you have light inside of you that we're reflecting at it. We're just reflecting it at a very specific wavelength to do a specific thing.
again, I just love the idea that there is no medication, and you're right. I mean, because here's the thing, like the reason I asked that question is that people say, well, I can put, like I mentioned, the nicotine patch, right? I mean, it has nicotine, it just replaces your intake. Pain patches is medication get into your bloodstream and pretty much just, instead of, eating it, or swallowing it, it's going through your bloodstream or your skin. So it's different, in the concept. Here is a whole different type of literally technology, not actually not in the chemistry, level. So now we talked about the idea that you can have many multiples. Now, obviously, people are going to say, well, where is this technology? I mean, why is it that I didn't hear about this before?
Yeah,
As you said,
yeah,
you and doctors and all these you mentioned
yes,
some brand, like some top names who have
yes.
been on this.
Right. Well, and I would tell you, I think big pharma and the FDA are in bed together, and I think big pharma, the FDA, and big media are in bed together. And I think that if you think about the amount of money big pharma stands to lose when you start resolving issues at the root cell level, this is their nightmare. They do not want the word to get out around this, because we don't even have to know what's wrong with you. We don't even have to know what's causing the issue. It's just a matter of, the stem cells figuring it out and taking care of it. So that is my best guess, is to the why. The other thing is, We are a general wellness product. So we can't make claims. We don't make claims to treat, prevent, cure any diseases, right? We are not allowed to. Even if they do, it doesn't matter. We're not allowed to say that we cure, treat, diagnose, or prevent disease. It's really your body that's doing those things. We're optimizing your body's ability to do those things by elevating GHK-CU and activating your stem cells. We can say that we're doing those two things, then your body does the rest.
It's the same idea of like supplements, right? I mean, they're
That's
really
right. That's right.
they you just take them to improve and optimize your body's functions, but that's about
Yeah.
it. Now, this, I mean, obviously this company has existed. They've done the research, they've
20
worked on
years.
it, and they stay in the marketplace, but they're just not, I guess, heavily, I
Well,
guess, promoting the work.
they're direct sales. So there's not gonna be a TV commercial on it. It's not gonna be on your GNC lab, right? The company has been around for 20 years. The first patch, I don't know if I said this, but the first patch, that energy enhancer, was actually created for US Navy SEALs. The Department of the Government, the Department of Defense contracted David Schmidt, our inventor and founder, to create something for Navy SEALs that wasn't amphetamines, that was able to keep them awake and alert for days at a time. And he came up with the energy enhancers. We're actually distributed in over 70 countries. We have 15 global distribution centers. We have offices, labs, and manufacturing in California and Utah and Ireland. The inventor has over 150 patents focused on anti-aging, and he's been awarded the Advanced Technology Award from the International Hall of Fame twice. There are no contraindications. The only people that really need to lock arms closely with their doctor, I think, are people who have an organ transplant, because your immune system is about to skyrocket. It's going to get boosted, and they're typically on immune suppressant drugs. So they want to walk that balance very carefully so that the body immune system doesn't attack that alien organ that's in their body. But beyond that, we have kids that are patched. We have grandparents that are patched. My parents are both like sturdier as a result of the patches. My mom used to walk around holding on for dear life everywhere she went, and now she's like off to the races and charging ahead. And she was in pain and limping from a foot injury, and she doesn't have any of that any longer. So yeah, it is for everyone, and part of why I do this is I do believe that if I would have known about this 2 or 3 years ago, before my husband went from stage 2 to stage 6A, that we might have been able to fend off the decline and the rest of the Alzheimer's to come. I don't feel like we're going to be able to do that even with stem cells. I do believe that will progress, but I do know that it makes a difference when I'm patching him when I'm not patching him. There was a day I tested, like we've patched for 10 months only, but the other day I didn't patch him and he slept the whole day. Like finally at like 1 or 2 p.m. I was like, okay, I can't take it. I'm going to patch you with X39. You can kind of take a break from everything else, but I'm going to at least give you the X39. And then he was back to normal. The next day I patched him with everything, and he was back to his funky active self. So it is making a difference for him. And if it's only for quality of life, that's good enough for me. I also, people don't die of Alzheimer's per se. They die of other organ failures and things that go wrong, right? So I want to protect all of those other organs in the best way we can along the way and keep him strong. We're still doing exercise and training and working with a trainer and weightlifting and that kind of thing to keep everything strong. Your body actually gets a signal. I need to stay and do the work to be alive when we exercise. We want it to think, oh, I got to work. I got to stay and do the things I need to do to be alive. And so it is an important part of what we do. But that's why I'm doing a podcast. I'm a very private person. I did not ever post on Facebook. I will tell you, I posted when my one daughter graduated from the Naval Academy. I posted, and when my other daughter graduated from the Air Force Academy, I posted on Facebook. And that was kind of it. Like years would go by, people would not know what was going on in my life. And now I'm feeling like if I would have listened to a podcast 2 or 3 years ago and heard this, I would have done this. I would have done this even if I hadn't read. Now I've read all the 90 clinical studies now in depth, but I jumped in pretty quickly because I did. There's nothing to lose. There's even a money back guarantee. Like, there's really no reason not to try it. Most people, 80% of people experience the positive, something positive in 3 to 6 weeks. But if you're trying to really like cure something or heal something or really make a difference in a particular injury, do give it the month for every decade you are old kind of thing before you give up. But I talk now and jump on podcasts like yours to spread the word and to help people hear about alternative therapies that they're not going to hear from the news or in a newspaper. Unfortunately, I wish that they would, but they're not.
Well, with the resourceful and informative network. So hey, this is where we get our resources. So hopefully that's the plan. And but again, like you said, I mean, listen, pharma does pharma, and they're going to continue doing stuff. The media is going to do their job. Everybody's going to do their part. I mean, there's something that's in existence. You have it. It's available. As you said, I mean, if you're already having a bad time, with your health, and you've tried everything else, I mean, what the heck? You can try something else that has less, I guess, side effects if you think about it, or none.
Zero,
And
no side effects except
exactly.
detoxing, and that's a good thing. You need to detox the crap out of your
Well, I
body.
mean, detox, you can always kind of rebalance it out. I mean, I'm sure,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
but the fact is, I mean, as you said, if you can prevent something, it's like, there is an opportunity. And here's the thing, stem cells research is still ongoing, and it's going to continue, and it's going to keep, out there. And that's really what it is. And there is like, there's a lot of work that's being done. But you're right, it's not really your mainstream stuff. It's behind, there's a lot of politics behind it, and so on and so forth. So it's not going to be there. Now, you said the company is in existence in 20 years, and it's in over 70 countries. You mentioned the name briefly. Can you just repeat?
LifeWave. Yeah, it's LifeWave.
I
And
feel
I would
okay.
I would say, please, if you're interested in trying this, reach out to me so that I can walk you through the journey. There are people that will sometimes go to like, Amazon or eBay. Those are not from the company. They are probably not even real patches, and the patches can degrade and break down. So someone like if they've had their patches out in the sun for weeks at a time and they've degraded, or they're old, they've been around more than a year or so, they could sell them and you wouldn't know the difference and they won't work at all. And then you just give up and say, well, this didn't work at all. So you definitely need to buy through a distributor or someone that can walk you through the journey and help you make sure you are drinking enough water and talk to you about where to place the patches and things like that. And I actually have an opportunity where anybody who reaches out to me, I can connect them with a doctor. You can ask in a Q&A with the doctor specifics around your circumstances. Because I do a webinar every Thursday with a doctor on the call, and she'll answer questions. We kind of go through a presentation, and then at the end of that, we take Q&A and answer those questions that are very personal. And I've got this. What do you recommend, or what do I do for that kind of thing?
Well, thank you. So ultimately, people can link up to you through
Yeah.
the website. IamReverseAgent.com. Is that the one?
That's correct. There's an anesthesiologist, Dr. Joseph Peck. He's a 40-year physician who has said this is the most significant medical breakthrough in my lifetime. I think this is going to change the way we do medicine and health in the future. Our health is our greatest wealth, and so when we really take it as seriously, this is kind of the easiest thing you never heard of. It's so easy, and it's just not. I know $99 may sound like a lot to some people, but what is your health worth? What are all the supplements? What is the food? What is the crap that you drink? If you're doing a Starbucks ever, like if you're ever, you spend money. So think about investing that in your own health and in your own greatest wealth, which is your health.
Oh, so thank you. And I was going to ask about the cost. I mean, now that's one patch. Now, ultimately, if you want more,
Yeah, that's right. If you wanted to do like 2 months of X39 and Eon, that would be $299 because the Eon is half the price of the stem cell activation patch. The supportive sleeves are half. You can, if you're buying one sleeve, there's $69 of like a glutathione or an eon. If you're buying two, they're 59 a piece, and if you buy three, then they're 49. But there are special introductory kits that are available where you're getting them at the $49, even if you're buying like one or two of them. So it's a really great deal, and there are free sleeves that are thrown in depending on which kit that you buy. So I can help people make sure that they're really getting the best deal that way as well.
So I'm assuming there's no insurance involved in this. It's all self-pay, so people have to cash, and stuff. So obviously, it could be difficult. But I love what you said. I mean, people spend money in unnecessary stuff or unhealthy stuff. This could be just a healthier substitute, especially if you have problems. And your copays and co-insurance and all the stuff for drugs will probably be about the same, if not more. So I mean, it just folks, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a decision you have to make. If this is for you, that's one. If it is, then do you want to spend the money on it? Is it worth it? As you said, health is wealth. And what does that mean to you? And again, that's a question that only you can answer. If you have a loved one that you need, or you're really in a bad pain that you can't figure out, maybe it's worth trying. Now, I do have a question about that. Someone could say, well, I'm going to do this, but then what happens if I stop? I mean, am I getting back
Yeah,
into my
that's a
problem?
really good question. So you don't go back to ground zero because you've improved your stem cell health, right? You've reset your genes, you've optimized, your body has improved. And so now you're just going to, wherever you stop, you're just going to continue along and start aging again the way you would have as a normal healthy person. It's not like a blood pressure medicine where you're artificially dropping your blood pressure, and then when you stop the medicine, boom, there goes your blood pressure again, because we're actually getting to the root, and there's cellular regeneration and optimization and repair, rejuvenation. All of those things are actually taking place inside the body. So there's no, people can stop and carry on their life and not continue. There's no addictive quality. There's nothing that, you know, there's no benefit, no negative issue around stopping.
It's funny because I was at a store the other day, and there's a big sign that the court ordered, a certain company to actually have a disclaimer that, they intentionally put additives in their smoke and, products. And now it's actually a sign that you find everywhere around, it's a tobacco, disclaimer. But it's true. By the way, I've known that for years. I mean, since the 90s. I mean, I literally was told literally that they put additives in these things, and because they want you to. But listen, I mean, I get it from a business aspect. It's about
Cookies,
business.
Lay's potato chips, you name it, right? They've got
Yeah.
all sorts of addictive
I
things.
mean, the easiest one you think about is just like the cola drinks, like the sodas, right? I mean, they throw in sodium in there, and it makes you more thirsty, and you want more and more and more. You
That's
drink 2 liters,
right.
because you feel thirsty, but that's because you're just drinking so much sodium. I mean, it's that kind of concept, but it's sad that there are always humans that will look at profit first as opposed to help, because they're not looking at that long term. But here's the thing, sadly, that everybody gets old, everybody gets aged, eventually everybody's going to get potentially sick, and therefore you don't gain anything from it. But sadly, that's just the world we live in. It's all about profit. And despite of the consequences, people get hurt, and but it's not really them. The way I always blame the person, the individual consumer. At the end of the day, you have the choice to make the right decisions or the wrong decisions. Nobody's forcing you. They're not holding you hostage to, hey, drink this, buy this and stuff. We do these things by default. Yeah, we buy the concept. We like the concept. It's sweet. I like it. And you do it. So it's at the end, it's a lifestyle, folks. You want to stay healthy, you can. You want to just live an average life, you can. You want to do some stuff, you can. You want to go to the gym, we have control of things. Now we might have persuasions and suggestions that are coming to us through marketing, through influence and other things, and you're bombarded with these things on day to day. Whatever you see them, they see them. They all have on your TV, on your radio and stuff. I mean, even podcasts, we have commercials and things like that. Now, ultimately, we can't stop some of these things, but you have to look at this stuff. We're, again, our job is to just share the information, what's available, and what you do with it is yours. And that's really what it takes to be healthy versus not. No one is going to force you otherwise. So that's just my little 2 cents in there, because I mean, people say like, well, what do you know? What We don't know nothing. We just bring the value. It's here. You do the rest. You do the math. If it makes sense, great. If it doesn't, that's great too. You're the one who's going to determine what that means for you. um Well, Darlene, this was, an interesting, very, very, eye-opening, show because I mean, at the end of the day, who doesn't want to get healthier or better? I mean, that's simple as that. I mean, if you have that question you want, is it worth it? Sometimes, yeah, maybe just do the research, read about it. If you find that it makes sense, ask your doctor. Now, maybe the doctor says, "Oh, don't do this, whatever." But then ask a second doctor. Maybe they'll accept it. I don't know.
They really won't. If you ask your doctor about GHK-CU and they don't know anything about it, they can look into it. But it's perfectly healthy. And if they most doctors, even when they discover it's a non-transdermal patch and it's just like they're like, yeah, you give it a try, right? Most doctors won't say no because there's no negative. And even the most hardened skeptics, like I've had a nurse and I've had a friend of mine that had Parkinson's, tremored since she's 5 years old, literally couldn't hold a fork without holding the other hand. She, in 3 weeks, her tremors are imperceptible. Violent tremors, like she couldn't hold a glass of water without water spilling everywhere. She can now hold a martini glass to the top and keep it steady. I mean, it's just really that dramatic. So I don't care how skeptical you are, it's still going to work for you if you try it. Like, it's still going to work for you. It just will, even when you don't believe it's going to work for you. It's great.
1 month, right? You tested 1 month. If it works,
Try it.
great.
Try it. Yeah, try it. I would recommend a couple months, but because most people 3 to 6 weeks. But yes,
Yeah, and I'm just,
some people
like
take longer, but yeah, it really is. The majority will notice something. I had a guy who was like in his first day of X39, the next day his like my REM sleep doubled. He tracks it on all sorts of equipment and yeah, so we all need a little bit better sleep. We all could use a little bit better energy, and even just the happiness and the joy. It's a really lovely thing for me to say that I can live in a place of gratitude every day and not be falling apart right now, in the midst of what is a tragic situation, really. It is all, I mean, anybody who's caring for anybody, especially a spouse with Alzheimer's, it's a very hard thing to watch and it's heart-wrenching. But to be able to go into that every day with gratitude and find the joy, make the joy, and I will tell you that these patches help me not just help me physically, but the ability to help others is it's sort of like my silver lining. It takes me from woe is me, to how can I help you, and that change of perspective comes back to me in spades, really.
Have you ever had someone who actually tried this and wanted to be part of the company and just join the mission?
Absolutely. Lots and lots of people, actually. In fact, it's kind of funny. There's this one guy who cracked me up. We have a ranger in Florida who was just broken from so many jumps out of airplanes, and his uncle was the one who introduced him, and I had introduced his uncle. And so he was talking to him and he said, well, do you want to do the business? And he said, no, I don't want to do the business. He goes, okay, I challenge you to not tell anyone about these patches for 30 days. You just don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone for 30 days. He said he made it 10 days, but that was it, because then he was like, everyone's asking him, like, how are you moving around so well? What do you mean you're golfing? I'm seeing you tie your shoes for the first time in like forever. What are you doing? And he's just like, it's the patches, and he just starts to talk about them. And the next thing you know, people just, what's neat is when he wanted to do the business, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to know all the stuff that we've got enough people that know a lot. Like I know, because I dove in and I do my research and I'm able to talk about it, but not everybody even needs to do that. People that are interested in the business can just refer, Darlene, can you talk to this person? Sure. Have them join the webinar on Thursdays and ask questions there, or we'll do a one-on-one with them. And then we just put them under that person and help them with their business. Because there's just it's a family of people who are so generous with their time and just wanting to help others get healthy. And so I love this tribe that I'm in that is just taking care of others. It's just beautiful.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a business, but it helps people, and there's nothing better than to make a profit when you're helping others. And again, I even like listen, even in the worst scenario that we think about, like we always kind of say pharma and stuff, but I mean, there's a place for that. There's a place for Western medicine. There's a place for Eastern medicine. People have a lot of choices, and everybody can win as long as you find what works for you. There are points if in the lack of alternative or knowledge or access to something, you'll take the first available thing, whether it's surgery or something. Now, maybe you want to do a lot more work, to research to prevent going there, or maybe if you
Yeah.
prevent it from the start by good nutrition and good stuff. But again, if not, there's opportunities. But I love what you said. You're part of a tribe, and there's a lot of work that's being done to help people, and there's satisfaction in that. I mean, just talking about it has a satisfactory,
Right.
concept here, right? Well, listen, Darlene. I mean, like I said, this was great. I've learned quite a bit. I certainly think that people will be excited about this opportunity, at least to learn more about it. I mean, listen, the webinars are available. People can jump on and learn more directly with a doctor question, not Hurricane asking, basic questions, but you get into deep dive medical stuff. And why not, right? And then if you feel that this is for you, well, guess what? You know what to do. We don't have to tell you any more about that. The decision is always yours, folks. So, darling, anything you want to leave our audiences with today as a
Oh,
piece of
just
advice?
that hope, just really to keep the hope. We have a tendency to give up and to presume that our doctors who would have said to me, come see me in a year, we'll see how far he's declined in a year. That's it. There's no, you know, there are so many alternative options and possibilities out there. Don't just listen to the doctor. Do some more homework and research and keep hope alive, because there are so many miracles that are happening every single day with people and their health, and people who haven't given up and who are willing to try one more thing. And so I love I love being a light bearer of hope.
Hope is all we need. I mean, hope is dangerous, folks. If you have hope, you can live longer, because that will keep you, holding on to something, to a flame, and you can work towards that, light, and maybe make a difference, change lives for you or somebody else. By the way, this is not just for you, folks that are listening. If you might be fully 100% everything is good, you might know someone. Like I said, we all know someone that may need some assistance in terms of their health and wellness. Guess what? This could be an opportunity to help someone or guide someone. That's one thing that I do that I love about this, is that I know that someone somewhere is going to learn something that's going to impact them. I don't need to know who they were, but I know that work is going to be there today. In a decade, somebody's going to listen to a show and potentially benefit from content. So I'm happy about that. So I relate to that, a feeling of like, hey, we're just doing a small piece of what we need to be there. And by the way, there's one thing that we didn't talk about. We're wrapping up, but is that all the stuff that we talked about here will eventually impact your mental state as well, and therefore you live a happier life and you'll be much better and much pleasant to everybody else around you. So it's a win-win for all folks, and you could be performing better at your work. You could be performing with your friends, family, relationships, you name it. So your life is just going to be better and better. Well, that's it, folks. I'm Hurricane Age. I hope you enjoyed this show today. Darlene, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Hurricane. It was my honor.
It's a true pleasure as well. So that's it. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show on topic. Bye for now, folks.